Welcome to the Faith in the Wild podcast, where the path is rarely straight, but always sacred. I'm Nicole Moran.
And I'm Angelica McCarthy. For 20 years, we've been walking this journey of life together, stumbling, rising, and discovering God's presence in unexpected places.
Today, we're creating space for conversation and reflection, inviting you to venture into the wilderness with us, because sometimes the most profound truths are found when we step off the marked trails and trust that we're exactly where we need to be.
So take a deep breath, open your heart, and join us as we explore what it means to have faith in the wild. How are you today? Nicole?
Sorry, I was pausing.
Why were you pausing?
It's the topic of the day.
Oh.
Pause.
Let's dive right on in.
We are
talking about pause.
We are
about the day.
Diving into this topic.
Well,
patience or pause. I'm embodying it at the start.
Correct. Since you were so in it in real time about pause, take it away.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Faith in the Wild, as we talk about today's episode, which is patience. We're going to use the word patience or pause interchangeably, most likely throughout this episode. And then the counter to that is discontent, restlessness, anxiety. You know, all of these, there's a lot of words in this episode that'll be kind of antagonistic of each other as we talk through this.
Yeah.
Our whole theme throughout this season has been call to action, faith in action. And man, you know, all joking aside to my pause at the beginning, this is a tough topic for me, because I think we just, and I don't want to say we, I like to be busy. In that, I find it very hard to be patient, to be content, and find pause in my rhythms of my day. And that can be a positive, but that can also come back and actually bite me in the butt. So I've seen that happen more than not, but I would say I'm somebody who resonates with just like, I love being busy. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm being productive or effective, but I enjoy a full schedule, and navigating that, I'd say over the last 3 to 4 years has really been a challenge. I'm somebody who enjoys the hustle of a day. But taking this last, especially, you know, within our Faith in the Wild journey, taking this last year, I'm doing a lot of reflecting on what that is. I actually find majority of my life has been more of the discontent because of the restlessness and the inability to be still. So that's where the joke was coming from in the beginning, because this is an active practice of mine. And so thank you for letting me take it away and introduce this topic, because this topic, again, I can definitely joke about it, and we're all here to do that for a moment, but also what a gift. What a gift to be able to be still in our life. And so, yeah, so that's kind of where I'm kicking this off, because this one is super challenging for me.
Yes. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with pause. To be patient, you know, patience is a virtue. Like that's
Thank you.
For a lot of people, myself included, it can be a superpower. It can be a whether it's a weakness, even if it is, it's something that it really gives you a lot of space for all of the good, just as much as whether we're looking for clarity, all the things. But it's where we get caught in that discontent or that anxiety. And I was in anxiety today. And everything in me in that anxious moment what was my first reaction? Pause,
Mm.
got back to breath, ground myself, figure out where this sense of like anxiety, anxiousness, restlessness, where is it coming from? And if I don't know, then as I'm breathing, I'm like, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus,
Mm.
Jesus. That's my literal practice as of late, because the patience and the pause, there's so many things that go on in our lives.
Yeah.
And to not pause, to not find that space for patience, and to get caught up in the discontent and the anxiety, that's going to fall right along with doubt. It's going to fall along with distractions, insecurities, fears, all those things that are on the opposite of taking that step, that faith,
Yeah.
being faith in action.
Yeah.
So it's it can be a hard one too, especially when I know I'm going to speak for myself,
Mm-hmm.
where I feel and know that God he's doing it. He's already done it, but I just know that the next phase and stage of my life is bigger
Mm.
and better in all the good ways. Not to say it's grass is greener, but I just know it's so abundant
Oh.
what he is putting in me to weed out and figure out and awaken to be in my highest and fullest potential. And I want that right now.
Yeah. Breach.
But I gotta wait. Pause, patience, you know, all the things, surrender, live the whole list. But
Mm.
that's where the restlessness comes in. It's because I just know, and I'm trying to do the work and I'm doing the work,
Yeah.
but then, just as much as we're riding that wave, and then
Yeah.
yeah, you pointed to
Yeah.
center of your
The
forehead
eye.
there, that our brains, our mind, our
Yeah.
thoughts like to just give us another perspective that maybe
Mm-hmm.
is that the one that we need to be thinking about or has
Yeah.
importance. But all of that to say, it's definitely a hard thing over here too, just
Yeah.
because, only because there that's where we're going to be able to hear him and
Yeah. Yes.
understand and discern, and
Mm-hmm.
everything that we are called to do is in alignment
Yeah.
with him. So if we're this
Mm.
and busy, and then life throws stuff in the way, and then it just gets so much more chaotic than
Yeah.
what it really needs to be, even though there's good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I think, when I heard you talking, I almost identify like I've lived that rush mentality for so long. Um, and finding stillness, like evolving as a person to prioritize the stillness and the pause in different buckets of my life, whether that be, work, self-care, like you're talking about, that moment of like, oh boy, we're going down that rabbit hole.
Yep.
Let's give that up. Let's open my hands and refocus on God and his plans and his timing, right? To give me that patience. Like, what are we rooting that, you know, hope from,
Right.
right? And that pause from, to really open your ears to, he's like, I got you. It's not in your time, it's in my time. And being able to ground yourself in that is very challenging, but there's also such a peace driven into those feelings. And the example I can give, and this one's kind of funny. I don't even think I told you about this one yet. This morning, I thought it would be a great idea. And this is like a mom pause moment. I thought it would be a really great idea to have my 3-year-old son help me make banana bread. Great idea.
Yes.
Sitting at the island, we got everything out. He's pouring things in. We're right up. He's up to bat to stir, right? He's got it. He's locked in. The chair is not locked in. He goes down.
Oh,
The spoon he was stirring with hits down as he's going down. The batter everywhere, everywhere. To the point I'm like looking away for a second. I look over, see everything flying. He's flying to the ground. The bowl's going everywhere, and my youngest is sitting at the end of the island, covered
Oh,
in batter. And at that moment, I had to pause and decide, am I going to flip my lid or are we actually going to just laugh at this because this was a moment of sheer entertainment that I'm still telling. I've told this story a few times today already. Like
yeah.
it was hilarious. I mean, it was just something straight out of a sitcom or a cartoon that happened. And yes, we made a second banana bread. Yes, he helped me. Yes, we got rid of that chair and we brought in the stand that he could stand on.
Yes, we cleaned off the second
Oh,
child.
yes.
Yes,
The
Noah's
whole,
being.
everything, yes, the
Yes.
child, the other child was clean. But all of this to be said, it's highlighting those moments in our life that we have a choice. We have an active choice of how we want to respond. And in that moment, I chose pause. And I chose pause because I have two little ones that are waiting to see how I'm going to react. And we have to realize in our life, whether you're a parent or not, there's always somebody looking to see how we are going to react. And the differentiator we have as Christians and Christ followers is that pause
Mm.
that we're embedded in. And so all of that to be said, I am in training. It is a practice. We talk about practice every day.
Every day.
I fall on my face at times. The other day didn't do as great. But because of that and acknowledging what I really truly want this to be, rooted in what I want, to be a mirror of what I want my children to be able to see what I'm rooted in is really in that pause and that decision that I have to make in how I react. And just like you were talking about today, it's like you had that decision in that moment and that pause, like, how am I going to move forward through this moment
Yeah.
of the anxiety? And
Yeah.
I think that pause gives us that reflection moment. Um, to have that decision. So we probably have lots of stories like this.
Yeah.
How do you feel like, you know, you are, what's the question that I'm trying to ask? What are you rooting your patience in? So you're in that moment. How did you get to that?
Mm.
Like, how did
Well,
you get to that? Like, wait a second, I'm acknowledging where it's happening here.
yeah.
Like, how did you learn to be able to do that? Or how did you get to that?
Well, it's rooted in a couple of things. One, it's in my knowledge as a healthcare provider of if anyone is going to be in anxious moments, how do I respond to help that person? What is that first thing that we're going to do? Check the air, make sure people are breathing,
Hmm.
and getting them to embody why are where is the excitement that is making things heightened and out of control or feeling like you're not in control.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one part of the if we put it in a pie, that's one piece of the pie. Another part of the pie in as I evolve as a healthcare provider and just as a person in general, everything is rooted in it for me is rooted in my faith. It's rooted in embodiment, it's in Christ consciousness, it's in that awareness of self just as much as it is the relationships that I'm in and the environments and the ecosystems and all of the things. That's where the meaning and things that matter really shifted and have evolved over my lifetime to know that it's rooted through me, not just me being, an extension of other people's stories. My journey is to understand and know myself so I can be the best
Mm-hmm.
in serving for others. So, uh somatic practices have been something that I feel really allow me to at least attempt to take one step to that. That doesn't mean
Yeah.
all of them work. There are times where meditation, I couldn't be bothered to meditate,
Yeah.
but I'll be bothered enough to go to prayer, or even just like even just reciting Jesus, or just breathing in his love and exhaling it out, and all of that. It's just as much. And then the first thing that we do is we forget to breathe when we're in moments like that,
What?
whether we're in control or not.
Yeah.
It's in those higher intense moments, or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
excitatory moments, I should say, because it could be good it could be good things too. we
Yeah.
we stop our breathing. So breath being that essential thing for me, and what I learn about myself, I'm here to share and give. So
Yeah.
that's where kind of the evolution of me as a person is continuing to evolve, how I feel that it's essential that I share that and speak to it and
Yes.
support that and provide it in others, just as much as I'm figuring it out myself, and figuring out where one thing works and then next thing you know it doesn't. And okay,
So
what is it
true.
today? And anxiety, is it a mental health disorder? Is it just me being irrational with thoughts and not being caught up in things? Is my increased heart rate not
Hmm.
because of anxiety? Is it from it could be
Oh,
literally anything. Sometimes it's just energy. It's like
yeah.
soul energy sometimes it could be any and all things. So the more that I understand and connect with my body and try to find that sense of grounding, and not like, yeah, it can be from the outside in, but it's more so the inside out of
Yeah.
understanding, the better off I find myself to be. So it's like, oh, well, why,
Yeah.
if something was said to me and it triggers me, which sometimes it happens to all of us, then as you were saying, you take that pause to understand your response. It's the same thing. Why am I responding this way?
Hmm.
Why all of a sudden am I kicking up? Okay, let me just,
Yeah.
in that pause, I'm breathing, I'm doing whatever it may be to be able to calm things down a little bit, to be able to better discern. And then if it's not, and it's getting worse and worse, maybe I need to go to the doctor. But it's just one of those things where that little bit of pause it's better discernment. It's um and continuing to learn yourself.
Yeah. I want to pick a few things out that you said just to highlight, because I think they're really important as takeaways from this is if you find something, let me back up. Not everything works for everybody. And
Right.
so a testament to that is, 5, 10 years ago, if, work was having like a mindfulness moment at work, I would probably leave the meeting. So I was like, I'm too busy. I gotta go. Where now I have a daily practice where I wake up early, I pause in reflection for about, 5 minutes or so, go into prayer and then be still.
Yeah.
Um, because you were saying be still is an act of listening and an act of paying attention to what God may be telling you.
Yeah.
If we just get up right away and dive into our day, we might be missing or not fully listening. Not necessarily an active, like, I'm not trying to listen to you, but like just unintentionally, like, we're not being intentional about our actions and the presence of that. And
Yeah.
sometimes if we do that, then, the catalyst response is we don't take a moment for that pause within our days. I might not have paused in my reaction to my kids when banana bread batter was flying all over the kitchen, or, conversations that I may be having with an insurance agent that I was on the phone with this afternoon, right? But having that pause, knowing where we're showing up and where we're grounding in is, I think, really important. But knowing that, you know, meditation, mindfulness in this way may work for somebody. Maybe it's a walk outside,
Yeah.
right? And being still. Maybe it's just like sitting and having a cup of coffee. Maybe it's just sitting and staring at a beautiful piece of art. Um, it's whatever it is for you to be able to release. And I think rooting it all in what you were saying, Dr. Angelica McCarthy, in breath. Take her professional opinion in this, right? Like in your breath. And so I wanted to highlight those few things because I think it's really important for like takeaways in our faith and action trajectory of this podcast is breath. Find what works for you within your systems of finding that pause, um, that stillness to be able to ground yourself in what he's telling us, whether that's spending time in prayer, in the word, your daily devotions.
Yeah.
And it's okay if it doesn't work for you the next day, right? Like it can look multidimensional.
Yeah, it has to.
Yeah,
We shift every day, schedules shift, timelines shift, everything shifts, and it's going to get in the way and it's going to excite. And for
yeah,
those folks where these none of these things work, don't be discouraged. It's just continue to check in with yourself, continue to allow yourself in those moments, like Nicole was saying, that choice. And that's such a key word because we have a choice
mm,
regardless of which way we want to go. Make that choice that makes you feel like your wholest and truest you.
yeah,
And no matter if someone didn't like it, then that's what it is. But it's in being authentic to what is for you. And if it triggers you, then that's not maybe not the route that we go. Because
right.
breath work can trigger you.
Mm,
Mindfulness, meditation can trigger things and can bring up memories that if we don't know how to navigate them in the most healthiest of ways, then you know
yeah,
actions can happen. So it's to say, um, if anything, just come to self in whatever manner that looks like, and you always have someone to listen to. We're always able to, you reach out to us.
mhm,
You're not alone in it. And also don't forget to go to God when in doubt. In my anxieties, in my restlessness, in my discontents, and whatever it is, it's going to Him
mhm.
to just calm the waters
Settle
in a
in.
way. And that's where that pause is coming from.
I
That's
like
where
that.
it all stems in that.
Calm the waters.
Yeah.
That's so good. So, question for you.
Tell me.
You ready for my question? Where
Yes.
do you feel the most restless in the season that you're in?
Oh, yeah.
You are in, you're in it. You're in.
We're in it. We're as we're recording this for
Yes.
everybody's reference, it's middle of November.
Hmm.
And this time of year always is our timeline of this time of year, everything always ramps up. So in between different projects, my husband, we do stuff together, creative works together just as much as we have our individual things. So at this point, there's a lot of pause and patience because there are some things that are outside of our control where we don't know when they're going to hit. You
Hmm.
think you had a plan and then you get a call and that says, are you available to be here on this date and be prepared for, as
Hmm.
a musician. So he has to be prepared. Or I can get a call that says, hey, we have a tour and we need you. Would you be available to be here next week? So or there's just so many things.
Hmm.
And in that, there have been many of moments in my life where I've gotten so restless and needing to have the answer so I can plan
Hmm.
and be on my timeline of, how's money coming in?
Yeah.
What are we doing? The holidays are here now. And with this time of year ramping up creatively, we have not been around for holidays with family. It depends on the holiday. Usually Christmas, we're running around Nutcracker. So having that understanding of knowing, you know what, we know we will not, or yes, we can be with family on the holidays. It's little things like that too, where the to have the answer is easier, but that
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean that that's something that we want to do, or the control aspect of it is probably the biggest thing. So in the restlessness, I've surrendered it.
Yeah.
it's it's not there anymore. There's
Yeah.
a lot of things, just waiting for contracts. You have a
Mm.
conversation and then it's months later and you're like, well, they said it would take a moment, so I'm going to trust. And
Yeah.
if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. Whereas before I would be upset and
Hmm.
oh my goodness, what's going to happen next? And I've got the beauty of continuing to grow in God in relationship with him is that surrender of all things
Yeah.
actually releases that restlessness. It doesn't mean that it completely goes away, but
Right.
that daily surrender and reminder of I'm not in control of all of this. I can take my action steps in faith and what I feel intuitively called and what he's showing me, but outside of that,
Yeah.
hands off.
Yeah. I think it can be really hard, and we've talked about it before, the analytical minds that we
Yes.
both have. And for me, I'm a very like, okay, I'm gonna get it done. I'm a timeline person. And when you step into a I'm gonna call it a purpose project, right? When you step into a season being led through God's timing, um, and you're finally opening, and I'm finally opening myself up to that.
Yeah.
It is a battle that I'm internally working on with that pause and that discontent, because it's very easy to say like, well, if I had more time just to focus on this, it would be this much further. And that's all those anxieties and that discontent and that restlessness that sits in there, right? Like it could be this, it could be that. Well, it also couldn't be, right? Like there
Right.
also is a counter of that, living in this discontent of the timeline that God has will take it where it needs to go. My timeline will only take it as far as I have capabilities of. And I think for myself, and I've messaged this and spoke on this in a couple other podcasts, is really getting through to his timeline and opening to that, um, and believing in that and
Yeah.
embodying that gives you that, or gives me at least that peace in those moments, right? That's like you were saying, Angelica, like I still have those moments of restlessness. I mean, it happens. I can spot them out a few times a week. It happens, but the response to it and the getting through it is stronger every time, right? Because you're
Yeah.
building that armor in Christ, you're building that consistency, staying close to the word, the constant daily practices of what you're doing, and then also surrounding yourself in the community that continues to believe in you as a person in whatever you do. It's not based on merit, it's not based on achievement, it's based on the embodiment of the journey that you are on and who you show up to be.
Mm,
And finding yourself those people are so important. I hope we can be that for others, but I know you have been that for me.
mm,
And so I just also wanted to call that out because I think a couple of these episodes have always have that through line back to that community tie. And I think that's a really important aspect to call out in these moments of back and forth and you know embodying that pause and celebrating those moments with you as you continue to grow in that journey. And so that's something I think is just, during our seasons, sometimes we may be super patient. Be like, it's good. I don't have any other timelines. Nothing's creeping up. Kitchen's not falling apart, right? The plumbing works. Like everything's great. But then there's seasons where it's not, and it's just it feels like it continues to compound. And I think um, finding the consistency in that
mm.
um, gives you that internal peace.
Woo. I had so many chills
Yeah.
with what you just said. That was such clear wisdom what you shared there, and I want to celebrate you too. High five. Yes, thank you.
Hmm.
Um, in your sense of restlessness,
Hmm.
and what you said as far as you're building that armor, I think that's so key because it is something. The more that you're aware of it, that you're present
Hmm.
in that moment, it's not to be bogged down by it. It's just to know, hey, this is happening, and
Hmm.
the more you see it, it is that little blip instead of it being, oh,
Right.
I remember times when my anxiety or sense of restlessness would be like a whole day and I would wipe
Mhm.
me out. It doesn't need to be like that.
Yeah.
So as you as you navigate being an example,
Hmm.
and my question is coming really in thinking about your children, but also too be an example for your community
Mhm.
in the sense of what you're building, and you're building from scratch
Mhm.
through God what he wants, what he's calling of you to serve for your community.
Mhm.
How do you find yourself leading by that example for your community? What is, maybe my question isn't as clear. How do I want to ask this question? Because you've already said it in so many different ways, but my curiosity for you really lies in the greater purpose. And I'm losing this question. I'm so losing this question.
That's okay.
Maybe, yeah, I'm
I
losing it.
mean, I taking a little bit from that and just reflecting on just we show up internally, we show up to our families, and how do we show up to our community? Um, if that's where we were going,
I don't know. I lost it.
I think I'm gonna rephrase the question. Um, especially with the patience and disconnect topic to see if we can round this out. And I can talk about community because I think that's really important to do. Is how can waiting on God change the outcome? And that's been rattling around, right? So we have all of these visions, we have these goals, we feel these purposes, we feel these callings, and embodying who we are, not only internally and having the strength to push through, but how are we showing up in our community and how are we instilling these actions and leading by example. Um, I think honestly, to show up in the community is the same that we need to show up in our house and show up to the people that we love the most and who love us the most, because sometimes they know all parts of us where our community may not. And I think embodying who we are in every aspect is truly some of the most foundational things. And, there's definitely times like one the other day that I don't feel like I showed up the greatest to a response of a situation that my son and I had, and reflecting on that and moving forward and reflecting on how I communicated to my husband and those times, and then going and serving, yeah, the next day to our community and being by his side and serving with him and serving our church. It's just it reminds me it's like we are human. God will He is not expecting us to put our Sunday best on, to show up to Him, to open our hearts to Him. And so, for myself and how I show up, um, it's how I show up in any situation. I think is some of the through line, right? Like we don't have it all together. I'm saying we. I know, Angelica, you have a lot together.
No,
Uh,
I don't. You can add me in that we.
Free, right? Because we are
None
human.
of us.
We don't. And I think recognizing those moments and opening those moments just as much as the good moments, just as much as the asking how moments to God, um, helps root us in that pause and in those moments of anxiety and disconnect to get us back to that stillness and opening our hearts to Him, even if it doesn't look pretty.
Yeah.
And um I don't think that had anything to do with your question, but that was on my heart to speak on because I think showing up and being patient in God's timing, it may unlock something within you, within your family, within your community that you can't even put words to today. And so trusting in that is what keeps me moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I would say in not knowing what question I really wanted to ask, but as
You're
we
gonna think of
move
it. You're gonna think of it.
as we like wrap up this thought,
Yeah.
it's everything that we're here to do is not for us. Like,
Right.
yes, it's you and I having this conversation and with our listeners and our viewers, with you all, but it's not about us. It's about our community. It's about others. It's about the betterment of us all. So we can talk about all this and
Mm-hmm.
walk out and do what we need to do, but are we meeting that? Are we being that in our communities just as much as we are in our households, like you were talking
Mm-hmm.
about? So sometimes it's easier to be authentic here in the confines of the home, and then you get out to the community and it completely shifts.
Right.
Or how are there masks that we're shifting on
Right.
and off versus, no, this is the essence and this is what it is. So
Yeah.
to lead by example, you can say that, and to be an example, you could say it, but to walk as if he's with you, and pause and patience gives us that space. Just that little bit of space gives us so much, that allows us to continue to be present and in his power and not our own. And that's when we're loving each other. That's when we're leading by example, being the example. So
right. Whoa.
yes.
Good episode. Very, very interesting reflection points.
Yes. It takes a lot to be brave and courageous in our patience and in the pause.
Yeah.
And to normalize that. So
yeah, we're here to start doing that, and it doesn't always have to look picture perfect, because we are not here preaching that by any means, so take time over this next week to reflect. I know I'm going to continue to do that. I think this is something that is really top of mind for myself, in this season, is how am I going to show up, and like, how am I showing up for my kids as I'm navigating a 3-year-old, and that's just an every minute challenge. But within that, it's the season of busyness. So how are we going to show up for our people and our community within this season? And I think there's a lot of opportunity to do that. And so I look forward to hearing from everybody, and have that opportunity to reflect and journal in our ebook this week. And would love, if you wanted to share with us, feel free to message us, shoot us an email. We're here for you. You're not alone, and be happy to pray for you guys.
Yes. My friend, thank you for your time, and until next week.
Bye
now, everybody.
As we bring today's journey to a close, we invite you to carry these reflections into your own wilderness moments this week.
Remember that growth rarely happens in comfortable spaces. It's in the questions, the uncertainty, and yes, even the doubts, where we often discover the essence of ourselves and our faith.
We're so grateful to have you walking alongside us on this path. Until next time, may you trust the journey, embrace the wilderness, and find God in the wild spaces. This has been Faith in the Wild podcast. I'm Angelica McCarthy.
And I'm Nicole Moran. Thank you for listening.
High five. High five. Love your life.